This is the Global PMO Awards presentation for Ella's Kitchen, based in Oxfordshire, United Kingdom. This is presented by Ellen Jarrett, Head of PMO, or runs Making Stuff Run Smoothly. Here is an agenda of what we will be talking through in this presentation. Firstly, an overview of our PMO. Secondly, our history and timeline. Thirdly, our structure. Then our objectives and how they feed into our mission. Results so far. And finally, what's next for our PMO. Ella's Kitchen is a baby food company that was set up by Paul Lindley, Ella's father, to promote healthy eating amongst babies and young children. Paul found that the market at the time didn't offer natural, healthy food that he was happy to feed his baby. And so he came up with this concept of these pure fruit and pure veg pouches. And he was the first to bring baby food in a pouch to the UK market. Our business, therefore, now being 13 years old, has always been very entrepreneurial and is also very values driven. It has achieved very impressive growth to over £70 million turnover, and we now have a team of approximately 70 staff, and we are based in Oxfordshire, literally in a barn near Henley-on-Thames. One of the things that is important to note about Ella's Kitchen, and that has been incorporated into how we have created our PMO and all of our materials, is that fundamental to the brand is to think like a child. So one of the reasons that our products are named the way they are, for example, we have a pouch called the red one, another one called the yellow one, the green one, is that when Paul took some of these samples home to his children, he asked his son Paddy, you can see pictured there, which of the pouches was his favourite. Originally they were going to call them the strawberry pouch, and Paul's son Paddy picked up the strawberry pouch and said, I like the red one, it's red like my fire engine. So Paul thought, of course, thinking like a child, they would call it the red one. So that is why our naming convention is the way it is. And we really have tried to remember that in the creation of our PMO. And I think you'll see how we've weaved that through everything that we've created in the slides I'm about to show you. We now have a huge range of products, some of which are pictured here. And innovation and creating new products through projects is crucial to Ella's Kitchen. Our pouches and our baby snacks can now be found in key retailers across the UK, as well as over 40 territories worldwide. And that's a little bit about Ella's Kitchen. Now to explain our team. We are called the Make Stuff Run Smoothly team. We were created in January 2016 in recognition of the need for the cross-organisational projects to be run by an experienced and impartial team as the organisation had grown in size. Up until that point, all of the projects were managed by the product manager, or you may call it a brand manager, as a sideline to their main job, which began to be unmanageable and naturally creates a tension between someone that has proposed the project versus trying to impartially run it as a project manager. They took the decision internally to create the Smoothly team. They wouldn't have known at the time that they were creating a PMO. They hadn't heard of a PMO, but the team they were creating essentially was a PMO. They just called it what they needed it to do in true Ella style. Hence, we are called the Make Stuff Run Smoothly team. I'm now going to run through some of the PMO's history. Our PMO is a toddler, really. We've just hit our 3rd birthday. This has been a period of rapid learning and growth, and I'm going to talk you through those initial stages now. In 2015, the projects were run by whatever team was proposing the change, and we faced many challenges when it came to delivering what we call new product development, or NPD. Our process was not fit for purpose, and things would regularly fall between the cracks. We would make ill-informed decisions, and it took a lot of time to get our ideas to market. There was a lack of clarity around roles and responsibilities. These, for example, are some comments from the all-staff survey that year. As a result, a number of workshops were held over a 6-month period to review our ways of working and to come up with new solutions, These were finalised in the new stage gate process for MPD, and we planned the transition to this new process, and we trained the entire employee group. Now our project managers, who are in the PMO, run all of our MPD and our EPD, existing product development projects, and also support our internal, or as we call them, Barnes projects. This is now 2016 and the team is in post. I feel it's important to explain the crazy P pictures here. Well, within 2 weeks of my starting and the PMO really beginning, we had to draft our first ever 3-year strategy, and in true Ella style, it had to be quirky. So we went out of the office, we went for lunch together, and we sat outside and we started reeling off all of our plans and hopes for the PMO, and we realised that they all centred around projects, priorities and people. We kept repeating these words whenever we were thinking of what we wanted to do, until somebody said, the 3 Ps. And as there were 3 of us coming up with the ideas, we thought we could literally be the Ps. And that's where the P madness was born. So to launch our strategy, as you can see, we actually dressed up as human Ps to run through these 3 priorities, the projects and people that we had, to make it memorable and to kind of join in the spirit of Ella's Kitchen. When I joined, we only used Excel for all of our project management. Each project had a manual timeline with coloured squares that you had to change. When one square changed, you had to change everything that followed manually. And traditional risk, action, issue and decision tabs on a spreadsheet. The trouble is that a lot of people in Ella's were on more than 10 project teams at any one time, meaning they had multiple actions in multiple tabs across multiple spreadsheets that in reality they never checked. So nobody was really on top of what tasks they had and when they were due. So as a result, to try and keep everyone accountable, people got in the habit of having weekly project team meetings to run through these actions that of course hadn't been done. And that was beginning to be because everyone was always in meetings being told what they ought to have been doing. In summary, it was quite messy, it was very frustrating for everyone involved, it was demoralising, and it was really starting to cost us. So it was one of the first things that I wanted to address, and I'll talk you through the solution that we came up with in due course. So once we were in post, we needed to decide what we wanted to do, but we needed a plan of what needed tackling first, and we decided the best way to do that would be to ask the people who are actually on project teams. So we created a survey monkey and we sent it to everyone at Ella's. We asked a few questions, several questions, but the main ones were around what were our top challenges and our top strengths on projects. These were the top 3 that you can see in this chart here, the top 4 rather: people's time, prioritising projects, timeline feasibility, and communication. So in 2017, we created a whole raft of helpful and engaging tools and templates to help us run the right projects the right way. Moving forward then to 2018, we were surprised but delighted to win UK PMO of the Year at the APM, Association for Project Management Awards. We've since been asked for help by other PMOs, and the main advice we have given has been these 5 elements that we think are quite unique about our PMO. Number 1 was to define your PMO. Ideally, use your company's values, or if they don't seem fit for purpose, create your own. What do you want your PMO's personality to be? Step 2 would be define your mission. What's your ultimate purpose? And make sure that everything you do supports it. Finally, brand your PMO. Whether you choose to have a logo like our Ps, or even just a certain font or colour scheme, find something that people can recognise instantly as being from your PMO and start building that trust and connection with your teams. Also be brave. Go out there and ask people in your company, anyone in or affected by projects, which really ought to be everyone, what you can do better and what would help them most. It's actually hugely therapeutic, and it will mean that you're working on the most impactful stuff. Also be prepared to fail. We have failed several times along the way. I tried to get some tiered project systems in, and the business just wasn't quite ready for it. We tried 1 month to suggest that we suggest one project that could be stopped because it was performing the worst, and again that was rejected, and that's okay. I truly believe, and Ellis is very supportive of this, that you have to fail to find out what works. And finally, be patient. Understand what the business will bear. It won't always be ready for every level and every project, everything that is involved in your portfolio maturity that you might want to put in at the start. So introduce what it will bear and build trust from that. Finally, keep it simple. This is hugely important to us, to strip the jargon from your process and your templates. I honestly think everything should make sense to a 10-year-old child. If it doesn't, start again. Make it clean, uncluttered, and visually engaging. These may seem like small steps, but they can have a huge impact on people's engagement with the PMO, especially if, like a lot of people that are on project teams, they don't have formal project management training behind them. So that's a little overview of our PMO's history. I'm now going to move on to our PMO's structure. So we report to the Deputy Chief Executive of Ella's Kitchen, and our team consists of the Head of PMO, myself, and a Project Manager. Lauren there is currently covering for Charlotte, who's on maternity leave, hence the baby P. Our team embrace our values in everything that we do. We're childlike, we're good to each other, we think differently, we're business-minded, and we want to win. And those are all of the Ella's Kitchen values. I believe it is precisely because we have so many projects on such a small project team that we've been driven to find the most efficient, effective, and engaging ways possible to establish our PMO. And I think it's really good to demonstrate what a small PMO can achieve and encourage other companies to follow suit. As a team, we combined our backgrounds in Prince2 and Agile to help the business to tailor a stage gate process, which you can see in brief there, for new product and existing product development. On average, we have about 50 live projects running across the business at any one time that we must support. This is a summary slide of how our stages work. Essentially, there are 5 gates that every product project must pass through, and along the way we commit more resource and more money to the project. They don't all make it through every stage. Obviously, it is designed to be a funnel, and at every gate our senior management team, who we call Little Huddle, have to approve the financials, the risks and the issues in every project. There is a hugely detailed timeline behind every project. This is a simplified slide. Each project actually has over 500 actions within it, but this is a nice summary slide for our new staff that we share with them. We also have what we call Barnes projects, which are internal projects, so things that aren't actually launching a new product but might be putting in a new system or working with a new supplier or a new way of working. The Barnes process is based on Prince2, but it is crucially simplified and tailored to the business. Our business case we call a Worth It. It's 3 pages long, it's very simple to fill out, but it encompasses all the basic things that you do need to know in a business case, and it's very user-friendly for people to fill in. Our project initiation document is called the Ducks in a Row. Our ACT stage is called Thunderbirds Are Go, and our closure report is called Time to Say Goodbye. Each stage and template captures the fundamental elements of project management and Prince2, but it's packaged up and phrased in such a way as to not intimidate those who haven't worked in a traditional project management environment before, which, to be honest, is almost everybody, and to be visually engaging and clear. The response to this process has been fantastic. People are proactively approaching us as a PMO for help. They want to convert or create new projects using this process because they are seeing the value from those that have already followed this new process. As a PMO, I think that is an ultimate goal, is to have people approach you rather than avoid you, to have you involved in their projects. So that's been a huge success for us. Finally, our main interfaces. All of our staff are stakeholders because everybody here plays a part in the stage gate process. Most critically, the project managers, the product managers who propose the new products. We interact with all teams across the business, as many product launches and many internal projects do affect everybody. We send a weekly email dashboard with the latest headlines on every live project to all staff, and we hold what we call classrooms, which are project team meetings, before every stage gate for every project. We also have what we call a crew meeting every month, where we have one representative from every team at Ehlers that review the process and spot if there are any improvements that need making. We look at issues that have happened over the previous month, and people are also free to suggest things that they have spotted that could work even better. We also have an important relationship with our senior management team, Little Huddle. They collectively sponsor all of our projects, and all decisions are driven by the strategic objectives that they set and our annual revenue targets. We have a dedicated project slot every week in the Little Huddle meeting, to which we bring our stage gates, our worth its, and our curveballs, which are our change requests, for approval. Now, this weekly slot allows us to be dynamic and very responsive. We also have a monthly prioritisation meeting called Timetable, which I chair, where we review all live and concept projects in the pipeline, which we call the P line, and I will show you shortly, to ensure that we're putting our resources into the right pots. Next, I'm going to talk you through our PMO objectives. We created our mission in 2016, and it still stands today, as we feel it encapsulates our role in prioritisation, project management, and making positive progress. We have looked externally for inspiration by learning from other PMOs. Over the last year, we have met with 8 other businesses, including Royal Mail and Innocent Drinks, and shared learnings with each other. This has really helped us challenge our ways of working and make improvements to our own processes. I'm now going to show you 3 things which I think have been fundamental to helping us achieve this mission ongoing. The first one is the P line, which is our version of a product pipeline. The first thing we had to do before we created this was to create a decision tree to decide how long projects needed to take. When I joined Ehlers, we treated all projects pretty much the same, and of course there's a whole variety of projects that take actually quite different lengths of time. Once we understood that these projects can range from 6 to 18 months depending on their complexity, it allowed us to plan projects in far enough in advance to avoid historic squeezes and painful bottlenecks of resource. Over time, we introduced consistent project delivery methodology to alleviate some of our previous headaches like cost and time overruns, uncontrolled scope, unsatisfactory control or reporting, and we ensured that we brought the whole business with us on the journey. Before the Smoothly team was created, for prioritisation, there was an A1 sized board with all of our live projects velcroed onto it in the financial quarter that they launched in. We looked at this physical board once a month and moved them into different quarters if we felt we needed to. Separate to that, there was also an Excel list of our concept projects, those things that hadn't launched yet, but may end up launching within that same financial year, but they weren't on the board because they weren't live yet. Essentially, it was impossible to see the whole picture at any given month because the two were on 2 separate media and the physical board was very difficult to manipulate and visually look at. So we made our very own pipeline called the P line. I'm going to show you a little video to demo this P line. There are lots of hidden columns behind this detail that I'm going to show you that spit out lots of charts that help with our prioritisation, things like pain versus gain and resource capacity RAGs. So let's show you this short little video. At the moment, this is showing you all product projects sorted by launch month, but let's say you just want to look at UK projects. Now let's say, actually, I only want to look at concept projects, so things that haven't been briefed yet. Then I decide that I ought to really filter them by homework, which is what we call our feasibility study or business impact analysis. Then I might say, actually, I want to see concept and live projects. And then maybe actually I only want to see the projects that I myself am managing. What's really good about the P line is also that you can change the homework or launch date on screen and see an immediate visual impact of the change. So for example, if we change the Aladdin launch date These names have obviously been fictionalized, by the way. If we change this to May, you will see the blue box automatically move. And then you can resort it again by launch date, and the launches are in a nice waterfall format again. This chart really does make it so much easier to see everything that we have going on, live, concept, and Gate 5, which is benefits review stage, at one glance. It's very user-friendly. All of our staff know where it is and they are happy to access it and manipulate those slices and those columns. It's very easy to update and read, and it's massively helped with our prioritization because we can have a very dynamic conversation with our senior management team, make the changes live on screen, and as I say, there are a raft of charts that you can sort of see along the bottom there that will automatically update as soon as you make any date change. It feeds into a number of charts, and we can see the impact of that change across a number of different criteria. So that is our P line, which we think has been instrumental in helping with prioritization. The most important thing we have done to address our projects pillar in our mission is to introduce Smooth Operator. As I say, when the Smoothly team began, we were using Excel lists for every project, and it was really becoming unmanageable and disheartening to everybody that was involved in projects. We wanted a dynamic and interactive online system. We trialled a few, and this was our clear winner, provided by Teamwork Projects. It has genuinely revolutionised our approach to projects. It allows people to take full ownership of their own actions. It has massively improved communications and fostered a great sense of teamwork. Of course, it was a big internal shift and there were some nerves, but we pressed ahead and it has been truly transformational. The best way to show you is to literally show you again. So we've recorded a demo to show you what this can do. This is the landing page. You can see all our projects, a brief description of them. They are categorized and they can be starred, so you only see the ones that are relevant to you. So let's look at a project level. We have a template set of tasks that we replicate at the start of every project across our traditional stages, including issues and risks, all of which have a deadline and an owner, including lessons. Everything is captured on here. We store all our milestones on here. These are key points in the projects. We send messages to the team, and all responses to the messages are collated and stored centrally right here, preventing a lot of email traffic. We also have all files that are pertinent to the project, and also the top headlines. Now these feed into our weekly email dashboard that keeps staff aware of all of the latest headlines in the project. And where I believe the system gets very smart is that the task list can be assigned in bulk to different people. So just to show you what I mean, let's say that I know that my technical manager on this particular project is a lady called Anna. So you'll see there's a whole range of subtasks underneath each of these headline tasks. And what I can do is ask the system to make a bulk edit. I can go in and say, please change all of the tasks that are assigned to the technical manager. There we go. And change them to be assigned to Anna. And what you'll see when we do this is that all of the technical manager tasks have been changed to Anna. This removes so much manual work from all of these timelines, and if teams change or somebody's off sick, we can really stay on top of all of our task management. Also, I can shift out the dates of these things like dominoes. So if I bump this headline task by a week, you'll see that all of the subtasks immediately follow suit. Again, hugely helpful and reduces so much manual work for us. Now let's have a look at the everything level across all projects. So this here shows you all of our active tasks across all projects. We're pretending we are the facilities coordinator, so these are all of that user's tasks across all projects. These are tailored to each person. So this is the default landing page that everybody sees when they click into the system at Ella's Kitchen. So the first thing they see when they click in is their own tasks in due date order across their projects, which is so good for task ownership. We have custom filters, so for example, we have set up what we call our naughty list. So this shows us all of the tasks that are overdue in date order. Stuart has a few, as you can see. This is very helpful for us as project managers to know what is overdue, and we can comment directly on the task there and send a message to the person who owns that task, and they can keep us updated that way. All of our milestones are stored centrally as well, as you can see here. And additionally, all of our headlines across all of the projects are stored here. So anyone in Ella's can see all of the latest headlines on the project at any one time, and we keep these very up to date. As soon as anything changes, we update these headlines. I cannot speak highly enough of this system, but of course I think everybody needs to choose the system that suits their business and their needs the best. This one just happened to align best with Ella's Kitchen. The last fabulous thing to mention is that for people who are not keen on going into systems, everybody gets a daily email which is automatically generated by the system, which tells them what tasks they have coming up over the next few days. You can set that to be over 2 days, over 2 weeks, whatever you prefer. As a default, we have set it so that everybody at Ella's Kitchen gets an email every morning telling them what tasks they have due over the next 3 days, and it includes any tasks that are overdue. So even if people aren't proactively going into the system, they are kept up to date with what is on their plate. This is an absolute world away from having 40 different spreadsheets, each containing 5 different tabs, and a manual timeline where when one thing changed, you had to then manually change 100 lines below it. This has also made a big impact on our meeting etiquette. So rather than having classrooms on every project every week to chase people on actions that they weren't aware they had, we now only have classrooms by exception. So we only have classrooms before every stage gate that we're about to pass through. Everybody truly has ownership of their own actions, and they can come to classrooms prepared and knowing what they have been working on. This has made a huge impact on our business and has been the single greatest tool for project management that we have introduced. And finally, to make progress on our people pillar, we have introduced what we call Smoothly PR. Now, as you may know, sometimes PMO people can be a bit too fond of a keyboard over a face-to-face chat, and we recognise that we may have that issue as well on occasion. So we decided to go and speak with people on a regular basis, one-to-one. So Smoothly PR is a fortnightly walk around through our office. We put our lovingly hand-crocheted P hats on, and we go around individually, so we each speak to one person at a time, asking them 2 questions. The first question is whether they have any questions about any projects that are going on in the business at that time. And the second question is whether they've spotted anything about their process and how we're running projects that could work better, or anything that would help them in their role on projects. This seemingly simple act has had a huge impact. People ask us things that they otherwise maybe wouldn't have thought to, or it reminds them of things they've spotted in the process that they just obviously hadn't thought to mention to us because it didn't seem a big deal, but those little ideas can often be really helpful. And I think it also crucially builds a really good rapport with people internally. It shows that we're not afraid to come up and field questions and find out what people are needing to know or might have suggestions about. It's a very honest and open act, I think, internally for us to do. The rule is as well, if our hats are on, then we're not allowed to chase any actions. So again, this may seem simple, but it creates a safe space. So if people see us coming around with our P hats on, they don't need to think, oh goodness, I've got 10 overdue tasks. They know that we won't chase anything. We are just there to answer questions, not to ask any. And I think everybody really values that. The Smoothly PR visits have proved very popular. They come back in the survey as a very important thing that we offer to people, and we make sure we do those every 2 weeks with everybody that is present in the office. Another thing that we've introduced has been our carrot rewards. We realise that, of course, by our very nature, we do have to follow up on actions and make sure they get done. but we wanted to have positive interactions with people as well, and recognise that there are some people that are exceptionally good on their tasks and never need chasing, and sometimes people go the extra mile on a project. So what we did was we introduced what we call carrots, because it fit in well obviously with our theme of peas. So what happens is every week as a team we look at all of our projects that we have going on, and we decide whether we think anyone has gone, as I say, the extra mile on a project, has been helpful for somebody, covered for somebody else maybe while they're on holiday. And if we think they've earned one, we go and give them one of those little carrot sweets that you can see on the top right there. We make a point to hand these over individually to people and tell them why we're giving them the carrot sweet. Obviously, it's a bit of fun, but we do find that it genuinely is well received by people. Everybody likes to be thanked, to be acknowledged for something that they've done. So it's not about the magnitude of the reward, which is just a small carrot sweet. But it's the principle behind it, and it really does motivate people, and it lets them know that we are grateful and we are noticing things that people are doing to help our project succeed. We also have a carrot tally, so there are different levels of reward depending on how many carrots you have earned from us. So when you get to 5 carrots, for example, you earn one of these carrot pens that you can see on the left. And I think when you get to 15 carrots, you get a large chocolate carrot, and if you get to 25 carrots, which nobody has achieved yet, but we're excited, you'll get some handmade carrot cupcakes by us. So as I say, this is a little thing, but I think it's really helping people, and the pens and the chocolates and the cakes are also not just given individually by us. In the office, we give those out at the all-staff meetings, which are held every month. So not only do we thank them for a specific thing individually, but when they get a collective reward for carrots, it's made in front of all their peers. So they get that recognition as well in front of the other staff. Again, we have found that this small little thing to say thank you and engage with people has been really well received. So those are the 3 key things we think we have introduced that have helped towards our mission. For priorities, we had our P line. For projects, we have the Smooth Operator System. And for people, we have Smoothly PR. Now again, we think rather than us tell you about the impact that has had, we thought it would be good to show you a clip of some people talking about the impact it has had on them at Ella's Kitchen.
I think the Smoothly team have had a phenomenal influence in the way the projects are run around the barns. I think they're a lot more consistent now, there's a lot more transparency, and I think overall it's just made managing projects a lot easier.
Things are definitely more in control. It's nice to see someone's in control, knows where we are, is fully in control of the timelines, and everyone knows what their role is.
You make my life easier, make sure that everything is done on time, that nothing's forgotten. You also make time for us, and for me it's really helpful that I can come and ask any questions, whether it's project related or whether it's process related.
So the Smoothie team have made a massive impact on Ella's way of dealing with projects. So they definitely help with recording and having well-documented projects. Then in terms of communication with all the rest of the team and the business, and making people feel more committed and involved with each of their actions, so it was easier to follow.
So I think projects now at Ella's Kitchen are so much more kind of controlled, and really people understand what's happening when. Previously, before the Smoothly team were in place, it was a little bit up in the air. Now there's definitely there's a dedicated team to go to. We know who they are, they know what projects they're managing, and I think it's just brought a lot more clarity to the way we do things at Ella's Kitchen. We're much more able to prioritise our projects.
So definitely improvement in my team for effectiveness. So they know what they have to do, they know when it needs to be done, and that really helps them to also communicate better because they know what they need to speak about to the rest of the project team.
I really like having all tasks that are assigned to me from all the different projects that I'm involved in one place. So I check into Smooth Operator a few times a week and just make sure that everything is done. It's really easy to miss tasks if you don't have them in one place, so that's really helped me.
I think the biggest change is ownership. So people have really taken ownership of their own tasks. Now ownership has been passed down to us, the people doing the work, by the project management team. I think that's fantastic, and it means everything rolls along and people actually feel part of the project and all driven towards the same goal.
The introduction of Smooth Operator at Ella's has been amazing, and I think that has just completely transformed the way we do things at Ella's Kitchen for the better.
Hopefully that's given you an insight into the impact that the PMO has had on the team internally at Ella's Kitchen. And now we'd like to talk you through some of the main results that the PMO have achieved. So, for prioritisation results, we have really improved our project management maturity over the last 2 years. Crucial to our mission is helping Ella's Kitchen to figure out which projects to start and which to stop. We do this at our monthly prioritisation meeting timetable with our senior management team, Little Huddle. At this meeting, we present simple live charts that show, for example, where our projects sit on a pain versus gain chart. The pain reflects a combination of the resource required and the risks involved, and the gain is our financial gain. And we then plot these against all the other projects and figure out which ones are in what we call the danger zone and which are in the sweet spot and which we should be challenging. We also have a chart which shows us which projects give us the best return on investment. We have another chart which shows us people's capacity, so each member of staff has a percentage, 100% being at full capacity, and anyone that's under we know could maybe take on some extra project work, and anyone that's over we recognise we need to redistribute resource and make sure that their capacity comes down. There's a whole number of charts that we run through in the timetable meeting, and we make suggestions for what we need to learn from them. Most of them, as I say, come from the P line, from the hidden columns that are contained within that spreadsheet. Using all of this information, Little Huddle decide what changes they want to make. We have the P line live on screen, and we decide whether we need to be moving projects forward, moving them back, removing them, placing some on hold, or even introducing new projects to make sure we're doing the right projects at the right time. Our next result surrounds goals and hurdles. We initiated better governance by, for the first time, introducing what we call project goals and project hurdles. So the goals are what we hope a project will achieve, and a hurdle is sort of our tolerance. So if a project suddenly looks like it will not meet its hurdle, we have to immediately send a curveball to Little Huddle. This is our one-page curveball document, otherwise known as a change request. This was not in place before the Smoothly team came along, which meant that if something went wrong with a project, sometimes that information was tried to be buried until it was too late to do anything about. And a lot of times there was just confusion and whispers going around the organisation, and it causes a lot of stress and a lot of uncertainty. So we're very clear now that as soon as a hurdle is likely to be missed, we fill in this one-page document. We get the key people to agree on it, obviously the product manager and the project manager, and it gets sent to Little Huddle via email for approval in the next weekly meeting. This means that everyone is clear on the parameters that are agreed at the start that define project success and the approved level of deviation from the goals. It also means that Little Huddle get to know as soon as anything has gone off track, and they're able to make timely decisions. It also takes a lot of the fear and panic out of the times when things go wrong in a project, which are of course inevitable because they are inherently subject to change and unpredictability. But this simple, clear process has really helped people remain calm in these situations and for Little Huddle to make timely, well-informed decisions. The next result I want to talk through is around what we call our PPOD snapshots. So as we said in our mission, we are also here to help Ella's Kitchen learn from projects once they have finished. To achieve this, we went back in time quite arduously to create a record, which we call the PPOD, it's a spreadsheet, of all the data from every stage gate on every project since our products began. There are well over 80 projects on there, and every gate detail is included on them. From this large bank of data, we've now created interactive, again live and responsive charts that show a wealth of insight on our performance, including: are we forecasting our sales accurately at the beginning of each project and along each gate? Are we hitting what we call our golden rules, which we also introduced, which are basically minimum requirements that every project must hit? We also can say how many new products we are launching each year. We can identify where we are squeezing our timelines too hard by project type. And we can reflect on what decisions we are making at Gate 5, which is our final gate at the post-launch review. There are numerous other insights that we can take from these charts. Where do our curveballs come up? How good are we at forecasting our project costs, etc. Each quarter we present the key findings that we think have changed over the last quarter in a helpful report, a little huddle, which is a slide deck every quarter with actionable insight and recommendations for how we can improve our decision making based on these learnings and improve our ways of working. So this has been a very important introduction because previously a lot of detail was included in every gate and a lot of attention was paid on an individual level to every project at every gate, but nobody was stepping back and looking at the decisions we were making collectively across all the projects, across all the gates, and spotting any trends and things we perhaps needed to do differently. For example, at the beginning of the project, are we always overestimating the financial goal? Is there a certain stage in the project that always overruns? And those kind of insights are incredibly helpful when you look at planning your future projects, and we have made recommendations and we have made changes based on these insights. So the quarterly PPOD snapshots have been a really important thing that the PMO have created and continue to give to our senior management team. The next PMO result I want to talk about is autonomy. Part of our success in the Smoothly team stems from our mission, which is intrinsically linked to the wider business strategy. It's simple for everyone to remember, and of course we have our P theme. Everything that we do has the Ella's handprint stamped firmly on it. We have no corporate jargon, no acronyms. We have our feet firmly on the floor, and we can provide robust data and facts to back up our recommendations, so the business know exactly why we're here and how we help. We are an ambitious team, we push the boundaries, and we are always asking what we can do differently. We've introduced structure and governance to facilitate project success that is carefully balanced with autonomy. We've really invested in upskilling the whole business, training staff in the basics of project management and how to use the system, and empowering them with greater independence than ever before. Project team members now have far greater visibility of project tasks thanks to the Smooth Operator system, and they're proactively managing their tasks themselves rather than constantly being chased by our team. We think this is our greatest single innovation, and we would highly recommend the use of an online project management system to other PMOs. In the last year alone, we saw a huge improvement in the number of overdue tasks on the system from 7% down to 2% a year later. And that really, to me, indicates that people are taking accountability for the tasks that they have and ensuring that they do not go overdue. You can see here some comments that people have made about the online system and the impact it has made on their involvement in project teams. We believe that all of these results have been reflected in the changes to our NPS score. In our biannual Smoothly survey, we asked people how likely it is that they would recommend being on a project team at Ella's Kitchen to a friend or colleague. We have seen a huge improvement in our NPS score. It began at 14 in August 2016, and the most recent survey in February 2019 placed it at 54. This is a tremendous NPS score, which we're really, really proud of, and we think that all of these results have fed into that. I'm now going to talk you through the next steps for our PMO. These are some things that we are proactively working on at the moment, and we recognise are areas that we need to work on. The first is what we call our SelfReact Capacity. So previously we were using our P-line and how many projects people were assigned to indicate how stretched they were for capacity. So a sort of a top-down look at how we thought people were for their own time. Now, however, we're trying a different approach. So rather than telling people how busy we think they are, we are asking them how busy they think they are. So once a month, we are sending out a very quick voting button via email, asking people to identify whether they would classify themselves at that moment in time as red, struggling and constantly working over my hours; amber, I'm at full capacity and I couldn't take anything more on; or green, I'm busy but I'm coping fine at the moment. We then break this down by team so that we can see how people's capacity is looking at the moment. Our challenges in our Smoothly survey consistently come back as timeline feasibility and people's own time. Both of these areas are improving, but we know there is still work to do. So this capacity chart we intend to keep an eye on and spot hopefully correlations between project load and people's SelfReact capacity. That's a very new thing that we are looking into at the moment. The next thing, which we are playing our brave card that we use at Ella's Kitchen, is around tiering projects. We have expanded a lot in the last few years, and we recognise that we now need to approach projects differently. As we have grown, so have our processes and our timelines, and as a consequence, some simple projects are actually taking longer than they used to or need to due to the level of bureaucracy sometimes involved in a project. So we are challenging ourselves to try and tier them. This involves being brave because it means perhaps leaving out certain steps or stages in the process that you would normally do, but perhaps it's overkill for that kind of project. But it does take bravery to deliberately skip some things that you normally do. So we have already introduced and rolled out what we call gold star projects. We normally have 2 or 3 projects at Ella's Kitchen that are the business priority projects that help people to understand if they are pushed for time, these are the tasks to get done first and to really make sure that project lands. So our gold star projects work well and people do understand that they are the priorities. But I would now like to consider defining silver and bronze projects, and as I say, what may be left out of the process for those projects to allow them to run faster and take up less of people's time. So at the moment we are trying to define what that could look like, what that means for how we approach those projects, and we aim to complete that work in the summer of 2019. Finally is evolution of our process. This is a long distance snapshot of our demo project, which is basically a project in our Smooth Operator system, which we recreate at the beginning of a new project. So it's got all of our template actions contained in the most complicated type of project, the one that takes 18 months. When we originally created this in Smooth Operator, it contained 204 tasks, and it now stands at 524 tasks. Now this is good in a sense in that we have understood the complexity of our projects and added in steps to make sure that we don't drop any balls along the way. However, it has made it a bit daunting, and we believe it does sometimes inhibit our ability to bring products to market quickly. So I'm tasking us with challenging this rise in tasks and seeing whether we can actually reduce that amount by 20%. We are trying very hard to strike a balance between preventing past mistakes from repeating, hence putting in actions that weren't there before to catch what might have gone wrong, whilst also trying to remain dynamic and efficient. So that's a big project to review our demo process and make sure that we are being innovative as a company still. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation. As I say, we are a small PMO with a small budget, but we hope we have demonstrated the impact we have had by trying to think differently and engage our own staff team. And we hope this in some way may inspire other small companies to take the plunge and invest in creating their own PMO.